We will seek you, find you.
If there are any among this people who should ever apostatize, prepare your backs for a good whipping.
Travis Wayne Goodsell, serious question, Mormons. Is the Book of Mormon true? Did you rush the answer? It's not intended for you to actually comment. You need to actually listen to the rest of this video. The worst form of human behavior is denialism. There's only been one religion that has been the brunt of attacks of other religions denying them. Just one. And no, it's not the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's the Jews. Ever since Babylon took them hostage, held them captive in Ur of Babylon, and then the Greeks took over their temple, destroyed the altar, rebuilt a Greek altar, offered Greek sacrifices, and began prostituting women. The abomination of desolation. Then the Romans utterly destroyed them. Islam, yeah, I purposely skipped Christian. We're going into them last. Well, technically the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Islam has an eternal hatred towards the Jews. They took over their land, and they don't want them to reside on it ever again. But the Islam have the Quran that refers to the Bible, but they don't have the Bible because the Quran refers to the Bible, so that's as far as they go. And in the Quran it says that the Bible is literal history. So they believe that Moses is real, Abraham is real, Jesus is real. The reason why is now the Christians. 1700 years ago, right now. Notice the Pope isn't even talking about it. He's telling Islam and the Jews how to behave. He has no right and authority over other religions. What that first creed of Christianity did is best summed up by Joseph Smith himself. Do you believe in Joseph Smith, Mormons? This is a serious question. Those of you who went on missions, you know what it says. It's verse 19. Christianity, with that very first creed, 1700 years ago, right now, is all wrong, abominable, and corrupt. So what's in it? You've got Google search. They refuse to sell off. Now that Trump is in power, thanks to AI, they're never going to sell. They're a monopoly. They're keeping it that way. So run the Google search. I recommend you don't trust AI. Because there's a whole Wikipedia page that quotes it, both in English translation and the original Greek. And in that Greek, they have homusion for consubstantial. Con, without. Substantial, substance, without substance. In other words, not of the five senses. In other words, not real. Homusion. Constantine made it up. None of the others that were forced to attend and give up their religion, give up their Christ, give up their creed, could agree on the nature and character of the new named Christ, Jesus. Turned literal history, chosen for the Roman period time, not the one that follows Deuteronomy. And there's another one also that I found in, was it Kings and Chronicles or something like that? I thought that was hilarious. Nope, they chose the ones during the Roman period time. After all, Constantine is Roman. All the other Jesuses were rejected. And they turned it literal history, the Jewish scriptures. And thus, with the first creed, they then went through all of the Jewish scriptures and selected which ones are approved and which ones do not conform and comply. That's why you don't see any Roman, Greek, Hittite, Babylonian, Assyrian, Persian, Aztec, Chinese, Egyptian, per se, in the Bible. Only those of the Jews that conformed and complied to literal history of the first creed of Christianity, nothing else. So there are some obvious questions from the Bible. What happened here? What's going on there? Because they botched the translation as well. In the creation of what they called the Bible with the Old and New Testaments. To deny this historical fact is part of denialism, the worst of human behavior. So the Pope, to avoid it, is remaining silent. And so Joseph Smith, you believe he's true, right? In saying that that is all wrong, abominable, and corrupt, means that the Jews are not literal history in their scriptures. You believe the Book of Mormon is true, don't you? 2 Nephi chapter 29. And because the Bible will go forth, or the Book of Mormon, sorry, many of the Christians shall say. Gentiles are Christians. How do we know this? Because, like I said, Islam does not have the Bible. Rome does not have the Bible. Buddhists, Hindus, Chinese, Aztecs, Mayans don't have the Bible. Just Christians. They created it. It's theirs. They stole it from the Jews for what they approved of and then completely screwed up the translation. A Bible, a Bible. We have got a Bible. And there cannot be any more Bible because of the first creed of Christianity. The Book of Mormon does not conform and comply to the first creed of Christianity, and this is why Christians reject the Book of Mormon. It doesn't matter if it's another testament of Jesus Christ, other than it does, because that means that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is also all wrong, abominable, and corrupt. Do you believe Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon or not? You can't have it both ways. And so, if you want it both ways, oh fools, as we continue reading. They shall have a Bible, and it shall proceed forth from the Jews. The Jews have a completely different religion. Their Christ is a human being, and therefore can't be Jesus, nor Jesus of Mormons. But Joseph Smith said that we're Christian and that we're another testament. No, he didn't. The Book of Mormon says it's not. Joseph Smith says that he's not. What have you done? You have denied Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon by supporting this church. The worst of human behavior. This is not complicated if you just read, rather than pray and get a right feeling. To be manipulated with your feelings. A psychological tactic. What thank Christians, the Jews, for the Bible which they received from them. What do the Christians mean? O ye Christians, have you remembered the Jews? No. You have cursed them and have hated them. Because in turning it literal history, now the Jews who wrote it are now the ones who murdered Jesus before they wrote it. What? Exactly. The Jews wrote those gospel stories with a character named Jesus, because it's from Isaiah's prophecies, after Jerusalem was destroyed in 70 AD on 9th Ave. Same date when Babylon destroyed the Jews, destroyed the temple. 9th Ave. If only there was a Google search for a Hebrew calendar online so that Mormons can find out when 9th Ave is this year. Because when Jesus is talking about being a terrorist and destroying the temple in 3 days, or building it back up in 3 days, it's prophecy of the future, Mormons, about a stone temple in the future. Thou fool, that shall say a Bible, we have got a Bible, and we need no more Bible. Have you obtained a Bible, save it were by the Jews? You deny prophecy, revelation, seership, translator, and the keys of Moses by saying that the Book of Mormon is another testament of Jesus Christ, that Joseph Smith is Christian, because Christians deny him too. These leaders of this church are pure evil. And they've silenced me to the point where they still go all in to keep you indoctrinated in denialism. It's a good band name. I miss the Radio from Hell show. Carrie, Bill, and Gina. They always talk about, oh, that's a good band name. $1 million idea. And so what you are rejecting is not just that the church is the great and abominable church of Lucifer, but of what Lucifer intends to do with you. Bye-bye. Murder, death, kill, John Spartan. I just did the John Taylor video, what was it, over the weekend? Nobody cared. I've been doing Oaks getting leaked. You don't care. I've done Heber C. Kimball, a test. You don't care. George Albert Smith, Here Come the Nukes. You don't care. Bruce R. McConkie, Nukes. You don't care. Burning, Hinckley, Nelson, Oaks. You don't care. I've exposed the Danites in this church. You don't care. I have seen dead bodies. I have seen burned bodies. You don't want that. Not just for the smell. But this is what the church is setting you up for, to betray you. They're puffing you up with this indoctrination into a false idol god, and then they're going to abandon you. And if you happen to survive, you will then have your faith bubbles completely shattered, and you won't know what to do with your life anymore. Your loved ones are gone. Your life is ruined. This is the devil. We all know it, and yet you didn't apply it in your daily life. Prayers number 7, 13, 23, 87, and 115. That was a rote prayer joke. I have to explain it. So in the church news today, all of you should be furious with this church. But because you think it's true that the Book of Mormon is Christian, another testament of Jesus Christ, that Joseph Smith is Christian, you don't see it. You don't believe the Book of Mormon, you don't believe Joseph Smith, so you don't see it. And therefore, I'm the enemy. I see it. They're the enemy. Denialism at its worst, right here in the church news. How seminary can bless and strengthen Latter-day Saint youth. It's not about teaching, it's about feelings. I was there at the crossroads. My whole seminary was with the new quad, with footnotes, Bible dictionary, topical guide, and scripture masteries. We studied our scriptures to put those to use. We learned about historical context, background. We were told to study. I did. So when I was at Institute, I took a seminary training prep. I thought, well, let's check it out. And the supervisor for the whole district, or area, I guess, sat in on one of my lessons, and then afterward talked with me and said, I really wish we could teach lessons like you did, getting into the scriptures. The church wants us to manipulate the students' feelings, take them on a roller coaster ride. Psychological manipulation. This was in '93, when psychologists had taken over the United States of America and all the public school systems. This was when they began threatening the teachers' union, teachers, principals, that kids are too stressed taking tests. You need to make it a pass-fail grade for participation. And they need comfort animals to come to class with. And then began telling the kids, oh, you're not a female or a male, you're something else? You should embrace that. Yep, psychologists. And they have doctor, fake doctor, client confidentiality. Nobody can ever know that it was the psychologist that destroyed your kids during that decade, and the next decade after that, and the decade after that. As they'd go on to graduate for participating, go into the business world, and destroy the businesses. All they're good for is flipping burgers. And even that was too stressful, as I've heard many a news story about how they need an emotional support animal and lots of breaks. Because it's too stressful flipping burgers. Psychologists cause that. 2026 curriculum already being announced. That usually isn't announced until after Thanksgiving. They're doing it early, specifically to piss me off. It's going to be the Old Testament, yet we all knew this. Every 4 years it rotates. And so, they've already biased you. The Old Testament, which even the Christians acknowledge are the Jewish portion, even though they say they're prophesying about Jesus, that the New Testament is fulfilled. And yet, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints will specifically skip those passages that talk about the Jewish Christ, just like they did this year for the Doctrine and Covenants, just like they did for the Book of Mormon, just like they did for the New Testament. They don't want you to know. Teaching is now about psychological brainwashing and manipulation. That's why it's read, ponder, pray, get the right feeling. And so it's not really read, reading is such that you read until you feel the Spirit. And so if it takes you 2 minutes to feel the Spirit, oh, great, you're done. Time to go to bed. Others, apparently, it takes days or hours. I'm struggling. I've been reading the Book of Mormon nonstop for 36 hours. I'm very tired. I can't feel the Spirit. You do not understand what you're reading. It tells you. It corrects your misinterpretation of Moroni chapter 10. So does the Bible. Go figure. And Christians still botched it too. But the most abominable of all of these was what I told you about psychology. When I was in grade school, psychologists had to influence a specific teacher to get in. And they got my teacher in Southern California. And it was a color test. What color are we? And it was to find out our personality. The teacher wanted to know who the troublemakers are, so that she can put them in between the blue and white colored people. As well as the yellows, but weren't as bad as the reds. I immediately caught on to this. I took it, and I was white and blue equally. I took it again. Now I'm blue and white. Took it again. Still. And I realized that in order to become a yellow or red, I needed to answer the questions that I knew I could not answer. But the ones for blue and white, that was the closest to the answer that I really had, which was not available for me to answer. They didn't want me to find out what my real personality is. They were telling me what my personality was by limiting me to only 4 options. Thus, there were only 4 answers for each question. It was taking away my agency and forcing me to be somebody I'm not. And this is what fortune tellers and astrotheologists and astrologers likewise do with your horoscope. They tell you what you are. You do not have a choice otherwise. And as long as you conform and comply, you self-fulfill their self-fulfilling prophecy for you. You become their zombie. You are their slave. They own and control you, just like a puppet master. This is psychology. To brainwash the masses, to thank their American liberators after World War II, Nazi Germany. What's your sharing style? Take this 11-question online quiz to find out. Responses suggest similarities to individuals from the scriptures to latter days, ways that might be a good fit to love, share, and invite. I'm willing to bet you're not going to be able to answer in such a way that you become Korihor or Laman or King Noah. It's rigged, specifically to be faith promoting. And so it says, are you like Ammon, the woman at the well? Oh, I hope I'm the woman at the well, because my psychologist says I'm not really a male. Here's more of a gullible trap for you. Answer some fun questions. Ooh, they're fun. And so if you're not having fun, you're the problem. To get hints on what ways to share the gospel might fit your personality. Do you not see this? You don't get the option of, oh, the scriptures are Jewish. I'm going to share the Jewish scriptures. No. Wrong answer, Travis. That is not here. Answer the question, Travis. Only the answers we provided you. And so I guess this means that Mormons are still not fully embracing and obeying Nelson. Because little kids don't go to the church news. This is adults. And pretty much those who watch my channel. When I do a church news video, they go and check. Oh, I'm going to check Travis. I know he's being hyperbolic. He's an anti-Mormon, antichrist, apostate, Korihor. He's not participating properly. You do know this is how the 2016 presidential election was overthrown? Russia, Russia, Russia. Yep, Facebook. I've told you the story a billion times. Even though I only have 8.8K thousand videos. Facebook was doing questionnaires just like this. And so I talk about the one that I did about which Disney princess are you? It was also fun to find apps about Disney princesses and fashion try-ons. That was cool. Nonetheless, I took the quiz. I was hoping to be Bell, so I was trying to rig the answers to be Bell. I already know how it works, so I was hoping I was rigging it correctly. No. Pocahontas. With Elizabeth Warren. A Lamanite. got a new thumbnail picture now. And so I would then find out that Cambridge Analytica obtained those answers and all of your Facebook data supplied by the quiz company in Mexico. And then Cambridge Analytica, run by Steve Bannon at the time, he bailed when England was upset over Brexit, caused by Cambridge Analytica and this. and it was sold to, or was given to Paul Manafort to sell it to Russia. Russia then used the data results to tailor the ad campaigns for the presidential election. So if you're a personality for Trump, they threatened you. I'd rather be Russian than be Democrat. And so they embraced it, made t-shirts. And if you're a personality of a deep state Dem, hurry, call this number now to secure your vote. MAGA is trying to steal your vote. Call now to secure your vote for Hillary. And people fell for it. My neighbors in West Valley City, when I was living there then, were quoting that among other ad campaigns in support of Trump. And the majority of them are now dead after 2020. Dead. Dead. No funerals, remember? Dead. Right here has serious consequences that will likewise lead to your death. You don't see it. I do. I'm warning you. This is pure evil. And the majority of you who don't believe me have already left. You will not listen to me. I am your enemy. And therefore everything I say automatically is wrong. You will not test the word. And the Book of Mormon warns you not to do that. And it's in the same place that you should have been reading the whole time, in conjunction with Moroni chapter 10. It's Alma chapter 32, starting in verse 28. The test that you're supposed to run. You know, Matthew chapter 7, starting in verse 15, which is also in the Book of Mormon. And then they correct it in the Book of Mormon. Now we will compare the word unto a seed. I am giving you words. If you will give place that the word may be planted in your heart, behold, if it be a true seed or a good seed, if you do not cast it out by your unbelief. If you don't know the consequences of the word, you need to run the test. If you know the consequences of the word, you don't need to run the test, because now you know. You don't know that you're supposed to be Jewish. Don't lie to me. You have incorrectly believed you're Christian. And so anything that says otherwise, you automatically don't believe it. And this is what Alma is telling these Zoramites that had their faith bubbles bursted for being poor and kicked out. The rich believed in the Great Spirit, Jesus. It's a synagogue that they're in. That's Jewish. And they're talking about the Great Spirit, Jesus, in the Jewish synagogue that they had built. Huh. How did Mormons miss this? And so if you plant it and run the test, you'll eventually know whether it is true or false. But you have to run the test. And you can use the other New Testament parable about the kinds of soil that you would plant the word in. Stony, thorny, wayside, good soil. Obviously, you want good soil. Just like you want a woman who wants to have a child, not be a smoker, drinker, drug dealer, self-abuser, mutilator, etc., etc. You want to be healthy for your baby if you want to have children. If you don't want to have children, I don't recommend it, but you're going to do what you're going to do. And as long as it's not illegal and doesn't take away other people's agencies. Doesn't take away people's agencies. Okay, now I got to get Pocahontas.